Breaking news this morning, 6 February 2023, a Coulson 737 air tanker has gone down in southwestern Australia, right here near the Fitzgerald River National Park area on a firefighting drop. It is fire season, again, of course, in Australia. Both pilots have survived. Very little is known at this time, very few details. This appears to be the third drop of the day for the Coulson 737, and it appears to me to be a split load or a second drop, or perhaps a drop after a show me run, looking at the preliminary ADS-B data. Looks like they were operating out of Bedrosian Airport, some 45 minutes away, and they're working in this area here. We'll take a look at the terrain here in a moment, but playing the playback of this. Here they come in for the right base and a final calibrated altitude. Let's watch the calibrated altitude here as it rolls by. 700, 600, 650 feet. So that could have either been an 152 knots. That could have been an actual drop or a what we call a show me run, where the lead plane takes them down for a dry run. We don't know yet. Or it could have been a split load, where they will drop half of their load, come back around, and drop the other half of the load. So here they climb back up to a right downwind and a right base to final. 13, 1200, 1950, 750, 675, and 101 knots, and the data stops at 1,000 feet per minute rate of descent. But both pilots survived. We don't know what happened here, but let's take a look at this terrain. This is the area where the accident happened. The terrain, according to Google Maps, is 100 meters, or about 300 feet. It's very close to sea level here. Looking at the terrain itself, the Fitzgerald River National Park looks very unpopulated and relatively flat terrain. Let's see if we can get a picture from the lookout here. This is the terrain they've been tasked to protect. Again, I ask Australian firefighting authorities. This is the second Coulson crash in recent history in Australia. Of course, the tragic loss of the C-130 crew just a few years ago. What is the tactical advantage of protecting this terrain right here? Why are we spending so much time, effort, and energy dropping retardant out here? What are we protecting? Are we trying to protect a national park of scrubland? What's the mission here? One thing investigators will be looking at was this a possible another case of CFIT or controlled flight into terrain, especially after a second drop. If this was a second drop, you're trying to tag your retardant line onto the retardant line in front of you. You are very carefully trying to get that retardant to connect the dots. In the process of doing that, you can get a thing called target fixation, and this happened recently to this Neptune crew and was captured on video. Here they are doing a normal drop. They're trying to tag onto this red retardant line right here. They're fixating on that, and they're not paying attention to the fact that the terrain is rising ahead. They overshoot the drop a little bit, and look how close they get to the terrain. That's called controlled flight into terrain via target fixation, and that may explain perhaps why the crew survived this impact with the terrain of the 737, as the terrain where these guys were dropping in Australia was also relatively level. Coulson Aviation, which was involved in this fatal C-130 crash a couple years ago in Australia, has a growing fleet of Airtanker aircraft and helicopters. Chinooks, Blackhawks. Here's the brand new 737 Fireliner, which makes a great air tanker, but this is fairly new to the industry, and we're training new crews up to operate this aircraft. They may very well be experienced water or fire attack pilots, but they are fairly new to this airframe. They've spent a lot of money retrofitting these 737s to turn them into formidable air tankers. And there's the C-130, similar to the one that was lost here just a couple years ago in Australia. S-61s and S-76s. Coulson, also being a Canadian-based contractor, also had the Martin Mars aircraft, which has since been retired. So breaking news out of Australia, one of the brand new 737 Fireliners from Coulson Aviation is down. Details to follow. Thanks for your support. See you here.